We are creatures of habit. We think in patterns, we act in patterns. And very often these patterns are not, well, they're not conscious patterns, they're what we call unwritten rules. Rules that everybody knows about, nobody talks about, and yet rules that govern how we act and what we do. How many of you in here have ever gone down the highway and you see a sign? It's white, it's got black numbers on it, it says speed limit and it says 65 miles per hour. How many of you know how fast you can really go? And you've got a written rule, but you've also got an unwritten rule, and it's the unwritten rule that's defining how you're going to act. I'd like to share with you 3, maybe 4 universal unwritten rules. Unwritten rules that affect every organization, unwritten rules that affect every group that you've been in, unwritten rules that affect your patients, your providers, unwritten rules that if you're willing to break them, will set the stage for having more fun, getting more done, but more significant than that, will set the stage for you building community with each other. So the very first unwritten rule that I'm going to ask you to think about is what I call the unwritten rule of friendship. And what the unwritten rule of friendship is most significantly seen by how you eat lunch. I hang out and stay with the people that I know. I spend time with the people that I'm comfortable with. I'm going to ask you, when I say go, to stand up and find someone that you don't know. And when you find someone that you don't know, I want you to see if you can find something that you have in common with them. Now, please do not cheat on me. Guys have a hard time with this, so what they do when they're meeting someone they don't know for the first time, especially if it's a woman, they go like this: so what's your favorite color? And the funniest part is it doesn't matter what the woman says, they go, oh, me too. You will build community and you will build relationships as you build friendships. You've got 3 minutes, stand up, meet somebody new, find something in common. Go, do the best you can. How many people in here were able to find something in common with somebody in roughly 6 questions or less? Psychologists say you can go up to someone you've never met before, and in roughly 6 questions, you can find something that you have in common with them. Let me give you the second unwritten rule, and this one is kind of fun. The first one I call the unwritten rule of friendly. The second one I call the unwritten rule of your job. And the easiest way to see the problem that this offers is going to be through a fun little exercise. So here's what I need you to do. If you would, I need everyone to stand up and get a partner. All right, this is a timed activity. You are going to have 10 seconds. If Renee and I were doing this together, give me your hand, Renee. My job in that 10 seconds would be to get my thumb on top of hers as many times as I could, and your job, Renee, would be to get yours on top of mine as many times as you can, okay? All right, everybody get with your partners. I'm going to time you. Let's see what happens. Go! Stop! How many people in here were able to get somewhere between, let's say, 0 thumb touches and 6 thumb touches, but no more than 6? 1, 2, 3, 7 and 12, but no more than 12. 1, 2, 3. Was there anybody in here that got over 12? 1, 2, 3. What you have to recognize is that I brainwashed you. I brainwashed you the way our culture has brainwashed you. Here's what I said. This is a timed activity. You are going to have 10 seconds. If Renee and I were doing this together, then I grabbed your hand like this. And as soon as I grabbed her hand like this, your brain kicked in, and let me tell you what you thought. You thought like this: thumb wars. And you looked at your partner, and she looked at you, and you thought this: I can take you. And what I'm simply suggesting is that if you want to have a great year, you need to say this: it's not about me. It's about the success of the organization. It's about the success of the patient. All right, how many people in here were able to get over 12? 1, 2, 3. That's it. Here's what happened. You went from one person over 12 to everybody over 12, and all you did was change how you thought. You broke an unwritten rule. The unwritten rule of friends, the unwritten rule of your job. Let me give you the third unwritten rule that I want to talk to you about, and this is kind of a fun one, mostly because it has to do with something that you do every day. It's very, very practical, and yet it's one of the most difficult rules that I have found people have the opportunity to break. I call it the unwritten rule of communication. How many of you in here have ever talked to someone and told them something and they did not hear a word you said? How many people in here, somebody has told you something and you did not hear a word they said? Some of you must have teenagers. The unwritten rule is that as long as I send it out, you've received it. I'm going to ask you to think differently. Because communication, true communication, is a different model. It's this: you still have someone sending and you still have someone receiving, but all between the sender and the receiver is a series of filters. And all filters are things that prevent the message from getting through. Anybody in here ever talk with a patient that is incredibly nervous and incredibly worried, and they don't hear a single thing that you say? Because you see, there is a filter there. And one of the things that you can do in the role that you're in the position that you're in, is that you can focus and concentrate on breaking through those filters. Now, there's one last unwritten rule that I want to talk to you about. And the easiest way for me to do this is going to be through another fun little example. So if you look on your table, there are a whole bunch of ropes. Your task is to untangle yourself from your partner. There are 3 rules. The first rule: you cannot take rope off the wrist. It can't come off your wrist. It can't come off your partner's wrist. The rope has to stay on your wrist. Rule number 2, you cannot untie the ropes. Rule number 3, to be honest, I never needed rule number 3 until I did this at MIT. I was at MIT and there's 2 guys going like this as fast as they can. I'm like, what are you doing? The guy goes, we are going to burn the suckers through. We often confuse words. And we do this when we do training, but you also do this if you're not careful in the medical industry. And let me tell you what the 2 words are. The 2 words are simple and easy. And very often, we'll go in and we'll say, oh, this is easy. And to be honest, for me this is easy because, quite honestly, I've done it thousands of times. The unwritten rule that unfortunately we fall into as far as building community is this. We say, oh, it's easy. And what we really mean is it's not easy, but it is simple. You see, the way that you build community is by meeting people. It's by talking with people. It's by communicating with people. It's by having a common purpose. It's by working as a group towards a common goal, and in so doing that, building friends. And that's how you build community. And when you break it down, technically, it's not rocket science. It's simple. But it's not always easy. Earlier, I was joking with someone and I said that you know how you're getting old when you start collecting doctors. As a patient, I value you. You are the front line. You are the interface. You are the people that, if you're willing to, can make a difference in the life of someone that's having a bad day. So I guess the charge I have for you as we wrap this up, examine, if you would, the unwritten rules that exist in your practice, that exist within your organization. Some of them are really good, some of them not so much. But take a look at them, examine them, talk about them. And as you work as a community, as you come together as a group, you're going to set the stage, not just for growth, I mean, that's nice, but you're going to set the stage for really being helpful for other people. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what's significant. Thank you very much for having me in. I hope you've enjoyed this.